Good evening, football fans, and welcome to the Checkdown here on FTSN. I'm Bobby Melendez, joined by Russ Morgan and Dave Stager, and we're going to talk about the NFL and football in general. There's a lot to talk about today as we prepare for an awesome weekend of playoff football with the wild card. And of course, we'll talk a little bit college football because that's Russ's bread and butter with baseball. But before we get into any of that, we'll start with Russ. Russ, how the heck are you, man?
I'm doing good. Back on the East Coast, on the West Coast of Florida, but I'm on the East Coast, so my internet will be better today, boys.
About time.
But glad to be back, Bobby. Always glad to see you, Stager. Glad you're back. I'm hoping you're feeling better. We missed you last week, and ready to get into it. Ready for Wild Card Weekend.
Yeah, feeling really good compared to what I was last weekend, and just kind of carried over. Lucky enough to feel better by the work week. Joy, that's life handing me a loss on top of a Packers loss to the Bears. God, say disgusting saying it, but no, I'm feeling a lot better. And of course, the whole Southeast just got snow. Bobby got snow. I got snow. Let's take it back where it came from.
Yes, it is snowing. I think it's stopped now. It should have stopped. We've got that big
going
cloud
right now. Here,
is it still going for you? All right, so just full disclosure, I'm in Tennessee and Dave is in Georgia. So we're not too we're a state apart, but we're not too far apart where we get the kind of same weather.
We're a hop, skip, and a throw.
That's correct. So but yeah, the big cloud, we got about I haven't measured mine, but they told us that we would be getting about 4 to 6, 7 inches of snow. So
that's
that's right. Yeah. But it was still fun. When I did go out there earlier today with my kids, and we're watching them throw snowballs, and it's always cool, especially someone who grew up in Miami to get to experience that. Take that for granted, and. But Stager's in that. DSG label says, "Sorry, Stager, that was a little voodoo for that Miami's game. That's what happened. That's why they lost.
Still take the win over Miami. It's okay.
That's right. That's right." Let's see here. Miami Heat Zone in the house. Martell, great to see you, my man. Guys, if you are basketball fans, especially Miami Heat fans, go check out Miami Heat Zone. Great group of guys over there. Great content, daily content almost. But we'll get into NFL talk here. So much to talk about. Not just the playoffs, but my goodness, are things moving quickly on the job part of it, front of it. The Titans look like they were going to run it back with Callahan and Canthan, and they fired Canthan. So the Titans, who have the number 1 overall pick, are going to get a new general manager to take over. And then, of course, the Raiders, who fired Pierce, they had him do an interview, a press conference. They fired him a day later. Then they're like, no, we're going to stick with Telesco. And then they fired Telesco. So they totally started a clean slate. I think Pierce was only 1 year. Telesco, I think, was there for 2 or 3 seasons. So kind of start fresh there. Obviously, Tom Brady helping lead that search. So we all wonder where that's going to go. The Jets continue to look for their GM and head coach. Aaron Glenn, I believe, interviewed for that role too as well. There's a lot of noise. Russ, we'll get into that. But before we get into everything and its mother, let's go ahead and start with the Raiders' decision to just kind of start over. Obviously, we heard the rumors of Bill Belichick that Brady was called Belichick to kind of see if he would be cool or would hop on to the Raiders now that they fired Telesco. So Mike Lombardi, who's the GM now of North Carolina, said that will not happen. But we'll start with Stager here and get to Russ. Just first off, your reaction, what you're seeing or hearing on the Raiders gig, Dave.
Well, I'm not shocked. For one, the Raiders will be the Raiders, and this is that definition of it, because, like you said, you took the words out of my mouth. You let each of these men go out and hold a press conference of their own, giving the off-season plan, and then you say, "Gotcha! No, we're going to fire you." And they did that to each of them. Like, they set it out like this. It's like a torture thing, like a walk the plank type thing. Like, Oh, you're going to do an exit press conference, and you're going to pretend to enjoy it, and then you get fired. I feel like Mark Davis is running a clown show there. Um, the Raiders had a high pick this year for possibly one of the worst quarterback classes we've seen in a long time. So, I mean, yeah, sure. I love seeing teams make decisive decisions, DSG label, but at the same time, there's also preemptive ones that to me shouldn't happen. Pierce was given like a pile of crap, and they told him to turn it to gold this year.
Same thing with Mayo.
Situation, yeah, and well, I'll get to Mayo in a second. We'll talk about. I got some stuff I know about that. Pierce should have been given another year. Like when you have Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell, what are you supposed to do? They tried to trade for Dak Prescott in the draft, but Dallas pulled back at the last second. Supposedly it was a done deal, and they pulled out. So the Raiders got left with nothing, and I think they're going to be in another topsy-turvy type situation for the next 2 to 3 years. I think it's going to be either a coach there for the next year fired or 2 years fired. I think it's not going to be a good situation.
Russ?
Well, I think the Raiders are actually going for let's have the most coaches not on our staff still being paid. This will be number 4 head coach. I thought it was. I agree. It was a terrible situation, but he got handed a pile of crap. It's like turning around, but at the other end, it's like, were we giving Antonio Pierce that head coaching job just because he was so favorable in the locker room? Was he actually fully ready to be a head coach at that time, or are we just throwing it in because he's the locker? He's a football player. The guys love him. Was he fully ready? But like Steger said, it was like a lose-lose situation for him. Definitely trying to turn that team around with Aiden O'Connell and Minshew, and after you trade Adams, it was definitely a lose-lose.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it doesn't surprise me because of who's in charge there. I will say that. There are teams that should have cleaned house. I don't think the Raiders should have been one. I agree with Steger. I think Pierce should have been there another year. You give him another year, an opportunity, especially the type of coach he is and how he's favored with the players. Obviously we'll get into the other conversations as well. Bill Belichick, when his name kind of popped off in there, it made sense. I know Alex was huge into Belichick going to the Raiders because of Tom Brady. I can't see Belichick going to the Raiders to work under Brady. I just don't see it. I could see Vrabel doing that, but I can't see Bill Belichick. So we'll continue to watch that and kind of react as it goes. I think Pierce will land on his feet. He'll want to be on the staff quickly, and I could see him possibly being a head coach pretty soon into the future, depending on how that goes. Moving on, we're talking about teams that are running it back. The New York Giants and the Miami Dolphins both followed similar kind of ways. The owner, at least how it started, not too long after the game. I remember on post game, guys, Russ was having a blast. He popped in and really loved to dig it in there.
Hey, my team was, 4-12 going into that. So
I get it.
Not a lot of wins, so he got the experience one at the end. Hey,
that's correct. You know what?
I was jumping in. I'm like, what the hell do I have to lose if my team loses and I'm talking a little shit? Whatever, we suck.
It's
my
all
team
good.
Wins, I'm having fun. And I got Bobby's reaction. Just gave me a little chuckle on Sunday this morning when he saw the comment. So
it's all fun, man. I could get a ribbon. It's all good. But yeah. I will say, it was, we were all talking about what was going to happen next, what should happen next. And not too long into that show, Dave, Russ knows as well, but not too long, Stephen Ross, owner of the Miami Dolphins, comes out and with a statement saying that, basically paraphrasing, I don't have it in front of me, that he appreciates the relationship that McDaniel and Greer have and that they will be coming back in their roles next year. And then at the end of that statement saying, even though we are running it back, don't take this as a way of everything's going to stay the same. We're going to take a hard look at what needs to be changed and blah, 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 blah. So, of course, that just tore down the house. We were just like, oh, that was just checked out time after that. Giants did a similar thing. Giants came out, Mora, and he said, "Hey, look, we're going to run it back," which really surprised me. With everything that went down and how embarrassed on a national stage the Giants were after letting go Saquon Barkley, and then Barkley having the type of year that he had and having to cut Daniel Jones after giving that major deal. I mean, it was just a shit show in New York. If anybody was to leave in Miami, even though I would say clean house, and I'm speaking as a Dolphins fan, but also, well, you didn't think about the Giants, but the Dolphins for sure, it was like, okay, Chris Greer needs to go. Well, no, we're running it back. One thing I will say that I wish Ross would have done that Mora did afterwards was when Mora went in front of the reporters. He told them, "I have, they say, how long do you have? How much patience do you have if they start to lose it or something like that?" And he said, "Not a lot, because I've basically run out." And he basically put them on notice, like, this is not going to be some long term thing where next year we're going to sit idly by. Like, if if next year we're half a season in and being a laughing stock, we're going to make some changes. Ross fell short of that, so we're going to have to be left. We as Dolphin fans, talking about me, guys, not these two guys. You got Packers and Jets, and but as a Dolphin fan, you're gonna left all year basically, or every day going, okay, we're gonna stick with this if it's falling apart. I will say though, for those who did not see or pay attention to the press conference, what I said on East 10th Street Boys, I will say, just in my opinion, that the press conference, I felt better about what's to come this offseason. Or not, I don't say better, more at ease and a little more interested in this offseason with the way Greer answered the questions. McDaniel really told on himself and really shown that he is not, on a job title says head coach. He's not a head coach. And he told on himself. First off, what Greer was saying. Greer put Tua on notice. Obviously you can't control injuries, but you can control how to protect yourself. He says Tua needs to be available. We need to take a hard look at that at the QB2 position, and Tua knows he has to be available. That's the first time I ever heard anybody really go at Tua like that before. McDaniel was sitting there with his head down, just nodding, kind of not wanting to show his face. Also talked about now it's time for us to invest in our offensive line. When did you decide that all of a sudden? And then the thing where McDaniel told on himself was when he was saying, first off, we know the situation with Tyreek quitting on the team. I can understand after a game saying, in the heat of the moment, saying, guys, I just can't. I got to put myself in a winning situation. I got to do his best. That's different. You have a right to do that. You have a right to be angry. And then you come back out and you later go, "Oh, sorry, that was heat of the moment." But when you quit on your team in the fourth quarter, quit on your organization, quit on your teammates, you're on live video. You have Jalen Waddle and company going, "Hey, Cheetah, you quit? Are you done?" Yeah, he goes, "Deal with it yourselves." That's a huge knock on your coach for a player to be comfortable to do that. And then the coach comes out and the press conference goes, "We had a lot of guys who missed meetings and fines don't work, so I got to figure something out." Blah, blah, blah. Whoa. So with the Giants, we know the leash is very short. I don't know what they really could do to make it look better. The Dolphins, we don't know how long the leash is in Miami. I do know I felt worse about McDaniel after, and I felt better about – I don't feel better with Greer, meaning I think he should stay. I don't. But I felt better about what his plan may be this offseason. This is me speaking as a Dolphin fan. But, Russ, I'll start with you, man. These two organizations, you obviously front and center watching them. You as a Jets fan, you get to see what you obviously look at the Giants and, obviously that interstate rival, even though you're in Florida. And then the Dolphins also being on with me on FTSN, but also as an interdivisional rival. What were your thoughts? Like, were you surprised at all that both these teams are running back full staff? I'm talking about front office head coach, because obviously Miami fired Crossman today and Wes Welker as a wide receiver coach, but just head coach GM running it back with those two guys. Are you surprised at all with any of these teams? And which one would you go, you know what, if I could, which one goes, this one definitely should have been fired, and maybe this one might be better off to wait a little while longer?
I wasn't 100% really surprised on the Giants. I think you just kind of, I think they're kind of going off of what he did a couple years ago with Daniel Jones, and then it just kind of went to shit. So I think they're kind of playing off of that maybe if he gets the right quarterback in there, he can turn it around. For the Dolphins, And like we even spoke a little this before I did On Deck on Wednesday. I was when I heard that Tyreek Hill quit on the team, which we have we have some problems with that in our organization too. It's like that directly is a reflect on the coach that he's got no control of the coach, because we have a lot of the same problems. And even like I spoke about it, we spoke about it. I'm like, there's a reason Tyreek Hill was on the block and traded the Dolphins. It wasn't only money. There were some other things, but that he was traded. But to hear the stuff coming out all on players not showing up to meetings, Tyreek Hill not showing up to practice, selling clothes, is just a direct reflect on McDaniel. And I'm like, would you rather be just like almost making the playoffs, getting bounced, sitting in mediocrity, or you have a couple of bad years, but maybe you get a higher draft pick and you can get something going? Because the Dolphins feel like they're always on that bubble of making the playoffs. They make it the first round, they're right off the bat, and then you're sitting there like 15th to 18th in the draft order, where you're never really getting that high impact guy sitting in mediocrity. It's kind of like, I know you guys spoke about like the Steelers with Mike Tomlin, and I know a lot of people in Pittsburgh really are really kind of not sold on Tomlin anymore. And I mean, they're kind of in the same situation. They're always getting there, but never really getting past that first round.
I'm going to add on this. Tomlin's been to Super Bowl. He's won it. That's the thing. He's been there before, where the Dolphins, they hire and get the mediocrity and then they crash back down. Tomlin's at least been there and done it. So it's hard to argue against the guy who's never had a losing season either in that stance. I get fans may be irritated because they're used to winning championships. I don't like Greer being back in Miami. I don't like McDaniel being back in Miami. They should have cleaned house. Them pitching the Tua thing, and I hate to say this, but Ross is filling seats with dollar signs, making people believe we can still do it with Tua, we can still do it with Ross, Greer, we can still do it with McDaniel. They're just going to go ahead and fill their dollar signs again, and they're going to get that taken care of. Now, Bobby, I know you said that Greer, you felt better about his press conference. Words are only so much until we actually see things getting done. So I always hear GMs and coaches talk. The ones who usually don't come out and spew all this stuff are the ones actually going to make the moves. Giants, I'm fine with Brian Dable being brought back. Joe Schoen, no, I can't stand him. The guy blatantly was asking his teenage son on Hard Knocks what decision should he make, who should he draft to his spot last year. You're a grown man. Make a decision, Joe. Like, really? And then on top of that, not just Saquon Barkley, Xavier McKinney got signed by the Packers. 2 All-Pros you let walk in free agency as a GM. Not a good look. So I think Joe Schoen should be gone. I think the only guy who should have stayed is Brian Dable. Not just because of Daniel Jones, because how the players respect him. And you can see that. Like, the Giants didn't have any reason to go and try and win towards the end of the year. But they were out there scrapping in games they weren't supposed to be in. And you could see that because of Dable. I respect that. But I just think he's the only one that should have stayed. That's just me.
There you go. Now let's get into around the league. And Dave, I'll just start with you on this one, just that way we could keep it rolling here, man. You were talking about what you heard in regard. I forgot now what it was.
It was Gerard Mayo and the Patriots.
Yes. What happened over there, dude?
So Gerard Mayo and the Patriots. There's a reason why he got let go. Because there was multiple players, not just like 2, 3, like a dozen, that have come out and said there was no plan in place week to week. We'd have guys that were being told they were starting. They would get pulled last second and told the other guys to start. And he was playing cards on the plane with players
I did see
every
that,
week.
yeah.
home, not just the last week. This was the entire season. Other coaches dive straight in. They're doing film. They're doing playbooks. They're doing all these other things trying to prep for the next week. Gerard Mayo was treating it like it was a 9 to 5. And that was one of the biggest things. Also, too, I don't know if anybody remembers, he came on his pedestal at the beginning of the season trying to say, oh, I want the Patriots to have a black quarterback, and pitch the whole Jacoby Brissett thing, and ended up blowing up in his face because Drake May came in and showed flashes and flashes. And then he started looking more like the guy that he was meant to be drafted as. And now it just looked like Mayo hindered May in his rookie season because of Mayo's beliefs that weren't right. And I feel like putting that on a team of what your beliefs are outside of a football team, I feel like really hurt the Patriots this year because they actually had a good defense. Their defense was actually legitimate. They have solid pieces there still today, but their offensive line is absolute dog crap. And I feel like Mayo, with a guy being in the trenches, I understand he's not the GM. That's Elliott Wolf. I feel like Mayo should speak up on something like, hey, get my guy some protection. Get my guy a weapon and trading in the season. He didn't do any of that. Mayo was there because he's a former Patriot. Now, a lot of people are saying, oh, Mike Vrabel's a former Patriot. Mike Vrabel's got division titles to his name. He's got playoff wins.
Yeah.
So there's a reason why Vrabel's not just being courted by the Patriots. He's being courted by Las Vegas. He's being courted by Chicago. He's being courted by in New Orleans. And, hey, don't be surprised, y'all. Patriots are, from what I'm hearing, they had their interview today. They're making a run to try and sign Ben Johnson now. They're trying to close him up and make sure he meets with no one else. So don't be surprised if you wake up in the morning and see Ben Johnson, Patriot coach. Now, everyone believes it's Vrabel's. I don't argue it there, but the rumor is they really like Ben Johnson. So he's the sleeper to look out for in New England, if not Vrabel. Mayo's going to be going back down to a coordinator or position coach. He burnt a lot of bridges with how he handled that locker room, and its word is carried across the league.
Very quick too. Just going to run through this very quick. The Jets, we'll let Russ get into the different interviews they've had. I know he's been keeping track of that. But we're going into the Jets, though. Just a couple things just to mention. The Cowboys, obviously, they've blocked Mike McCarthy from interviewing for any role, and it's looking like they are open to continuing his role as head coach of the Cowboys and discussing a new deal. And then
contract talks. Yeah, I didn't mean to not negate they were on the league. I just wanted to jump on.
I'm cool with that. No, we'll run it through and then we'll get into the other. But the Browns today, we found out that Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson, obviously, was out with an Achilles injury, out again.
Late Christmas gift.
Ruptured his Achilles again, and now could possibly miss the 2025 season with another. He'll have another surgery. So it just continues to roll for him. Now we go on to. There's a lot of noise. We look to see where the hell Vrabel goes. Pete Carroll is looking around the league.
Couple college coaches gaining attention too, like
that's
Iowa
true.
State's head coach in Chicago. Yep. He has another interview lined up, so don't be surprised you see a college coach jump up after the playoffs are over.
Let me see. I want to make sure I pull this up. Let's see what I got here.
What was the name you said, Steger?
The Iowa State head coach. I can't remember his name off.
Matt Campbell.
Campbell.
Yeah,
Matt Campbell. Yep. And
he's highly regarded in NFL.
Yeah, they've been trying for years with him.
Chicago made a run at him.
Let me run these through, and then we'll get into the Jets very quick with Russ, just to kind of give his. But as we said, these are just some of the teams that have had some staff changes. Obviously, the Dolphins today fired special teams coordinator Danny Crossman.
Scapegoats.
Finally. Well, I think Russ Welker was a scapegoat. Crossman should have been fired 3 seasons ago.
Agreed. Yeah.
Welker, though, was fired. Obviously, the mess with the receiver room, especially with Tyreek Hill, I think he was a scapegoat. Again, that's on your head coach. When I see all that, that's on Mike McDaniel and the culture he's built in Miami. The Raiders fired their head coach Pierce, GM Telesco, offensive coordinator Luke Gatti, QB coach, and then offensive line coach. The 49ers let go of their defensive coordinator. Of course, the report is that Robert Saleh, former Jets coach, will take that role up. We'll see once that the Titans surprised everyone and fired general manager Rain Carthen after just 2 seasons. They got the number 1 pick, so that job should be attractive. Yes, sir.
The biggest thing on that is Will Levis looking as bad as he did this year, and basically walk away for a 7th rounder this year. And with how he looked in Green Bay was a big staple on why he got let go. Like he mismanaged. So like he only got 2 years. I'm like, he mismanaged that quarterback room.
And that's the thing. You're gonna make another pick with the number 1 pick that high.
They don't want anyone near that.
Yeah, I wonder that I would not be surprised if they hire a new GM and they fire the coach right after that. I wouldn't be surprised, even though obviously it wouldn't surprise as well if he stays just because he's only 1 year. But I'm being up here, I did not like Brian Callahan, what he was doing here in Tennessee. Colts fired Gus Bradley. Oh yeah. Gus Bradley let go. Well, and again, the Titans have a brand new stadium being built here.
Yes, they do.
They're gonna want that team to be good. Remember, they started that stadium when this team was on fire with Tannehill and Henry. So they were like, oh, everybody was all flipping out, yes. And then of course now you have these years, and you're like, oh,
it took a long time though. That thing got shot down so many times.
Yeah, I know.
I was in Nashville when that was going on, and it was left and right. Like, nope.
Russ, where haven't you lived?
This is like my 5th state.
He's lived everywhere but New York, and he's a Jets fan. So, Seattle Seahawks fired their OC Ryan Grubb. Cincinnati Bengals Lou Anarumo. Thank you.
How dare you?
I butcher names. Doug Peterson let go from the Jaguars. Patriots obviously Mayo. Ken Dorsey and offensive line coach Andy Dickerson fired from the Browns. Obviously, we know Chicago fired Matt Eberflus and Sean Weldon. Mm-hmm. That was a while ago. The Saints fired New Orleans. New Orleans fired head coach Dennis Allen. We know about the Jets. So talking about the Jets, who obviously fired their coach and GM a while ago during the season. Russ, quickly, man, what have you heard? Obviously Rex Ryan thinks he's going to get the job. He said too, he got let out of the bag. I was like, you can't keep Aaron Rodgers on that team. So he thinks he has a job. I've been seeing a little bit of Aaron Glenn, which I would hate. And obviously that sense throws strong. So I would hate Aaron Glenn on the Jets because I'm a huge fan of Aaron Glenn. And he continues to impress me, especially when, I was listening to some of his stuff today. And I think it would be, if you're a Jets fan, I think you should be happy, but can't speak for you. For me, as a Dolphins fan, I would hate it because I think Aaron Glenn is going to be a damn good coach. But what are you hearing and following as you're paying attention to what the Jets are doing?
You're following a lot, man. We're interviewing everybody and their mother, but we won't be giving them their the coach's mother like a clothing line like some team in New York did. I was.
Friendly shots fired.
Fired.
I wanted Vrabel. I don't think they're getting Vrabel. I've been adamant about Vrabel, but I think that's long gone. I thought Steger with his Mayo thing was going to throw like a Ime Udoka scandal with the Patriots. But I wanted Vrabel, but when I know Rob Mosley came out, asked me who I wanted, and then I saw the Aaron Glenn thing he was like, who you want? And I saw the Aaron Glenn thing, and I'm like, I want Aaron Glenn, and I'll take Rex as my backup. I want Aaron Glenn, and he's a Jet. This guy's played a lot of his career in New York. I want him. Do I think they can get him? I don't know. He's going to have a lot of competition.
Russ, I got to ask you something. I as a former head coach there, you'd be fine with Rex Ryan coming back.
Dude, I love Rex Ryan.
So I got to meet him in person at a place called Dark Horse Tavern in Cortland, New York, where they held the training camp when he was there. We found out about Rex's foot fetish in person there with multiple bartenders. So when people say, is it real? Oh, folks, it's 100% real. We saw it in person with that. And Rex was throwing down $100 bills to take foot shots off of bartenders and waitresses' feet, and I am not kidding. These are Cortland State waitress and bartenders. Actually, it was my buddy's dad's bar that owned it, and he would hire all the college girls because it's good tips and stuff like that. That's really the attractive ones, and obviously with that, Rex was throwing all of his money, and I'm like, yeah. There's other stories that I cannot share on camera, but I will say Rex Ryan lived and breathed as a New York Jet. But I just wanted to know how you feel about it.
I mean, it's a shit show. What's going on with everything?
Why don't you just make Woody's grandson the head coach?
Right? I'm saying.
I mean, you're speaking about like the Giants GM asking his son. I'm like,
that's the same thing.
That's better than your son saying, no, we don't want Jerry Jeudy because his Madden rating's too low, or no, we don't want John Simpson because his awareness rating is too low on Madden.
And Jerry Jeudy balled out. That's like what I'm like, really?
I mean, like, I understand if it was like, hey, we don't like going into it, we don't think Jeudy can do it because like he hasn't performed. But saying he hasn't performed to the level he was drafted at, but saying his Madden rating is too low, I'm like, that's a video game.
That made Bobby probably die inside just laughing because of like, not just because he's a Dolphins fan, but because like I know he's a football nut like us. So the whole fact he probably read that and went, "Are you kidding me?" So Bobby's bad, like, "Pay me half of what a GM makes. I'll do the job."
100%, dude. Whatever the minimum is for a GM, just give it to me, and I will do the job. I will do it.
I'll be a towel boy, please. Just let me get it.
Let me get the foot in the door, man. 100%.
Be a cowboy like Mike McDaniel.
Yeah, you give me a short leash, dude. Give me like 2 seasons. That's it. Give me just that.
Let me be John Gruden and coach forever at the Raiders.
That's right. And there's that noise coming out too. That
I saw that. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, we'll see. He is entertaining though. I've seen some of his stuff, and he John Gruden is just very entertaining, and it's always good to listen to his perspective and the way he talks about football.
He's really smart. The son of a bitch is so smart.
He is.
She is, God, like. It's just like he's got a good quirky personality, but then all of a sudden, like you remember, God, he's a racist SOB. Like, like you did, like, oh, John, why do you have to be a racist? Because like when you watch him on Barstool, he's like, Johnny's feeling nicey, and I'm like, I don't know, he just got a fun, quirky personality. At the same time, you're like, oh, crap, he's a racist. Yeah, I can't really say that about him. I get things get forgiven, but
do we think Brian Flores gets a head coaching job?
Yes, I do. I believe
that's another name I would take him. We think he's getting a
Yeah, I know Dolphin fans, a few of them would say, "Oh, dude, no, he's done it." No, I think he's done enough.
You look at what defense was
came from the Steelers. He went to the Steelers, learned under Mike Tomlin, went to the Vikings. You saw what they did with that defense. Again, he's a former head coach. To me, I take that a lot. I hold that to a standard because it'd be, you should be, when I say, for Miami, get either a former head coach or a player, somebody who's played in this league, who's been a successful coordinator somewhere, because they know what it's like. And if for a former head coach, like, but he failed there. Well, of course he failed. That's why he's a former head coach. You're not hiring Bill Belichick, or whomever. You give me a successful former head coach. I think Flores will do a hell of a job wherever he goes because he's learned.
Flores is a sleeper in Las Vegas too.
I wouldn't be surprised. And obviously, when you have like Ryan Fitzpatrick coming out and saying what his flaws were, you have a lot of his, his former. But I think Flores will get a job, and I think he'll have a better run somewhere else than he did in Miami because he's learned from those mistakes, and he's very vocal about that. And his players love him. Let's get into wildcard predictions. We're at the 35-minute mark almost. Man, it's some good games here that are going to be fun. We'll start it off though with the Chargers taking on the Houston Texans. Chargers are 11-6, Texans 10-7. Russ, how do you see that playing out?
Well, let's see. I'm going all Jim Harbaugh. Let's see C.J. Stroud's nightmare. He first year lost to Michigan. His last year he lost to Michigan to Jim Harbaugh. And then what does Jim Harbaugh do? He walks into your own stadium and wins a national title. Now it's going to be number 4, so I got the Chargers.
Yep, I'm rolling the boat with that. I just think Harbaugh's got this team so well coached, and they're one of the teams that have not been talked about. They're peaking at the right time, and they are looking good. The defense is starting to roll a lot more. You're getting guys like, listen, I have hated on Quentin Johnston since he came to the league. He's been my bust prediction out of that class. He's turning around. He's making the catches. He's exploded that last week before the playoffs. Listen, don't sleep on the Chargers, y'all.
They're loomers. They are loomers. That's what I say. And I, Houston is for the year they had last year. Even though they still in playoffs, they're 10-7. I respect DeMarco Ryans and CJ Stroud. I think they're gonna be good for a while.
Oh yeah,
it's been a slump for Stroud this year, and I think that will continue in this game. I think the Chargers will pull this out. Going on to a game that's gonna be physical, fun, maybe explosive in a way, even though you think defense might play a big role in it. Pittsburgh taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Dave, how do you see that playing out?
I think it's the Ravens. Yes, Wilson's been there in the playoffs, but he's not the Russell Wilson of old that we remember. He's not the guy that we see in the prime. That is Lamar Jackson. That is Derrick Henry. I don't care if Zay Flowers is out. Give me Ravens by 10.
Russ?
Yeah, I'm with Stager on that one. I got Ravens. It should be hopefully a great game. A nice AFC North battle. It's going to be
I'd like it. But...
So, that's playoff football right there. So you love that. But, like you said, if you got Lamar Jackson and you got Derrick Henry, even though Flowers is out, I don't think there's going to be a problem. They still have the 2 solid tight ends. Bateman's picking it up. So I think they do what I just keep on rolling with Henry. Who's going to stop that guy? Are you going to get in front of a guy 6'2" going downhill? I sure as hell wouldn't.
Looking at these games beforehand, this game here, it's hard to pick against Baltimore. I mean, how many times have they been in it and get, they bounce you? Like, this has to be the year. This has to be the year that they make a run.
They've got the king this year, so it's different.
It's absolutely different. That's what he's there for, playoff football.
Bingo.
But I'm going to roll with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think Mike Tomlin gets this team to pull off the upset. I think that defense.
You hate Lamar.
I don't hate Lamar. I love Lamar. I love Derrick Henry, dude. You know me, brother. I've been banging the table for Henry to be in Miami for years. He's been, and I wouldn't hate to go any way. It's not a fan thing. This is straight up like this looks like a game where Baltimore shits the bed and Pittsburgh steals it in Baltimore, and and then moves forward. So yeah, I'm gonna be different from you guys. I'm gonna roll with Pittsburgh on this one.
Even with the worry about George Pickens, like his mental little
This will be I think the Steelers the defense is gonna have a day.
Okay.
I think
TJ Watt. I
think defense is gonna have a day.
Not JJ.
JJ Watt. Broncos 10-7. They're the ones between the Bengals, Miami, and Denver. Denver does the job. They don't lay the egg against a replacements version of the Chiefs. They stop the replacements version of the Chiefs and get into playoffs. And their ticket is to the Buffalo Bills. Russ, is there any upset going on in Buffalo? Can the Broncos upset the Buffalo Bills here in the wild card?
When you got Sean Payton, you got a chance, but I think this is the Bills' year to get it done. So I'm rolling with the Bills.
Stager?
My only worry is Bo Nix and how he's going to respond to the playoff atmosphere, because we've seen him in games this year where kind of like bigger opponents, and he kind of throws 2-3 interceptions. With the Bills, the last thing you want to do is give them 2-3 extra drives, because Josh Allen or James Cook's going to be in the end zone. And it's just hard for me to go against the Bills right now without Allen is playing. He's put the team on his back, and McDermott has really installed the culture after there was doubts the past year or two, and now look at it. They look like a monster that they can take down Kansas City. So I'm going Buffalo. I think Denver, they show some fight, but I just think Buffalo is going to be too much for them, especially with the inexperience from Bo.
Yeah, I think Russ is right in regards you can't sleep on Sean Payton. Bo Nix has done wonders this year. He will be a very good quarterback for years to come, but it's not going to be enough to beat Buffalo. Buffalo is gonna take this game and just gonna make their way through this playoffs possibly. Starting in against Denver. Moving on to the NFC, we'll start with the Packers and the Eagles. Packers, of course, 11-6. They got embarrassed by Chicago. They take on the Philadelphia Eagles, who are 14-3.
You just had to throw in the embarrassed thing, huh?
Right there, just knock it. Don't worry.
Chick move.
We'll start with you, Dave. Man, this is your team, Green Bay. I know it's hard not to think as a fan, but then I'll forgive you either way. But how do you think this game plays out, bro?
What do you mean you forgive me either way? Jesus, you already.
I love you, man.
No, okay.
Be too nice, Bobby.
It's okay. I know. Russ just likes to rip the Band-Aid off. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and jump in. I'm taking the Packers for the upset. At the link, 28-27. Last second field goal. Brandon McManus, who we didn't have for week 1 in Brazil, puts up a game-winning field goal, and in cold weather, takes the Packers to the divisional round to face the Detroit Lions. But I think it's going to be a back-and-forth game. I do have reservations about Jalen not playing the last 3 weeks because the last time he played was mid-December, and they weren't playing playoff-type football, and him and A.J. Brown were going at it, and they were arguing, and, yeah, they had one good week in between that, but they were having problems. So my thing is Jalen going to be up to par and ready for that type of playoff mentality where Green Bay, even though they've lost, they've been in that mentality trying to climb up the playoff ladder where Philly's been linked, like etched in stone for number 2 seed the last couple of weeks. So they haven't had to play their starters. They haven't had to do anything of that nature. Now, Saquon Barkley's still an animal. I just think that Green Bay, their second year in a row, they're the youngest team in the NFL. They got nothing to lose. They've proved they can win with Jordan Love, get in the playoffs 2 years in a row. I think they pull the upset. They beat Dallas last year, number 7 seed over number 2. So it's not like that they haven't done it before.
Russ?
I'm going the other way. I think the Eagles do get the W, but I don't hate that. Yeah, hey, that's fine. I don't know what opinion. But I don't disagree. I think this is going to be a great football game, and Jalen Hurts being out, for so long is definitely going to hurt it. I want to know what Love's hand's going to be like too. Is another thing.
They said he was good to go. They took him off the injury report.
All right. Well, let's see when it's we'll see how cold it is in Philadelphia. I think this is going to be a great game. So I'm rolling with the Eagles though.
It's okay. I love you.
Hey,
again, obviously the easy answer would be Philly.
Just rip the Band-Aid off.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I think this is an upset alert. I think Green Bay goes into Philly and pulls out the win. I think they do it. And so
I liked you, Bobby.
Yeah, I know. Can I get a thumbs up instead of the finger? That'd be
good.
Hey,
Stager, you'll probably be happy that I picked the Eagles if your Packers win because it's usually a death sentence if you go picking.
Yeah, that's right. You got to break the wheel, man.
If they win.
You got the Commanders 12-5 with Jaden Daniels leading the way, taking on the 10-7 Buccaneers. This game is harder to pick than most of them because both these teams have that fighting spirit that they just don't quit. But Dave, you're gonna have to try, man. How does this play out? Washington or Tampa?
So I think I'm not even actually excited about the good, like the game itself. I'm excited for one mini rivalry in this thing, and it's continued on. Marshawn Lattimore versus Mike Evans. These two have thrown haymakers at each other before, facing each other when he was the Saints DB before he got traded. It's been a half a decade's worth of those two just going at it, jawing at each other, bumping helmets, playoff atmosphere in Tampa. Come on now. And Washington's a young, hungry team too. Jay Daniels looking to pull the upset. Baker's playing out of his freaking mind.
Yeah.
By the way, like that dude is making Cleveland.
I don't think this is me this time.
Yeah, no,
That's
it's
not
definitely
you. That was Dave. That was Dave. That was Stager.
It lagged. I'm like, what?
Yeah, that
anyways,
was you, Stager.
anyways, Baker's playing out of his mind. I think Tampa Bay does edge it out just because, man, Baker's just a giant killer. They beat Detroit. They beat Philly this year. They're not afraid to take down any larger teams, and Washington's no other besides that. Now, are they good? Hell yes. Jane Daniels and Terry McLaurin are a hell of a connection, but yeah, that mini rivalry, I'm up for it with Evans and Lattimore. I am going to take Tampa Bay, though, by 5 points.
Russ?
Yeah, I mean that Lattimore and Evans, I'm with them. That's exciting football right there. Just to see those guys going back and forth. I am with Stager. Baker just is exciting. I think Baker gets the W. I think Baker has proven his point after basically coming in last year and saying, "Hey, you're just gonna be a bridge quarterback," and then he goes, "Oh, I lead the NFL in touchdowns." So I'm all on Baker. I think they get this win and move on to the next round.
Baker magic, man. It reminds me of Fitzmagic. Baker magic. I think Baker will lead the Buccaneers past the Commanders. And not to say that is not a knock on the Commanders whatsoever. Jaden Daniels is for real. That team is on the up. Good for them. But I think Tampa Bay pulls out that win. And Tampa Bay's going to be a dangerous team in this playoffs too. They could pull off another upset here after this week if they can beat the Commanders. And then you got the Vikings taking on the Los Angeles Rams, Russ. What are you thinking about this game?
The Los Angeles Rams in Arizona for the week. I got the Vikings. I think they're just going to have a bounce back game. We obviously spoke about what Flores is doing with that defense. I'm just rolling with the Vikings. I think they'll have a nice bounce back game from last week's dud they threw up.
Stager?
Give me the experienced Matt Stafford and Sean McVay. I don't care if they're in a different stadium because they still travel and play well no matter where they play, even if it's their home stadium, away stadium. I think the weapons for Puka and Kupp and like Kyron Williams, and you've got weapons for days on that offense. Now you add in Tyler Higbee, who just got healthy and now is getting ready for the playoffs. Stafford loves using his tight ends. I think we saw the pumpkin ride for Cinderella, Sam Darnold, and last week. I think Detroit fully put them exposed, and we saw the ghost boy, Sam Darnold, Reggie, come out and blow chunks. And yeah, Detroit's a really good football team. Nothing from that. But I do think Sam Darnold, though, has been playing a little rough football the last couple of weeks, and last week was really bad. Sean McVay doesn't ignore stuff like that. So I definitely think the pumpkin ride is over. Sam Darnold had his little fun year. I think the Rams are going to go on to move. I just think there's too much experience there, too much playoff. Like Sam Darnold has never made the playoffs before as a starting quarterback. And not a shot at the Jets, but when he was there, he's never made it there. So this is his first time. I feel like that's a lot of pressure coming in. And now you got guys that have been there before with Justin Jefferson and Aaron Jones. They're expecting something of you. Who knows if he puts it up? I just don't think he does it. I think the Rams win by 3.
And let's just say, first off, Andrew Van Ginkel, Flores, Justin Jefferson, Sam Darnold, what he's been able to do there, Kevin O'Connell. I like them, and I would love to see their story continue. And again, as would be like the beginning of the year when we were talking about when Sam Darnold took over, and obviously this was on pregame, and Evan was like, "Oh, Sam Darnold, dude, they're going to lose. They're done." And I said, "Dude, Sam Darnold has not had these type of weapons, so it's going to be interesting to see them playing playoff football in this situation." And it's not like Rams have home field advantage, but I'll tell you why. Even though with all that, and I would be rooting for the Vikings just because of their story. Why I think the Rams are going to win this game. Dave said it perfectly. First off, veterans. They've been there. They've done that. They know what it is to play football, playoff football. There's no team better suited to play in this type of situation than the Los Angeles Rams, especially with this talent. First off, shout out and prayers and thoughts to everyone in LA.
Yes. My God, I can't believe what they're going through.
It's horrible there, and Russ, obviously you got connections up there in that side of the world. So shout out to them, man. And so it's a crappy situation. Obviously I think that rolls with it too. That type of they're going to play for not just themselves, but for the city, who's going to be watching from home or wherever they're watching from. Hopefully, the most people are safe as possible and they're able to be home or be comfortable and watch this game and get their minds off the situation there. But yeah, I think that's going to fall a lot into it. Again, it's not that I think the Vikings are going to crap the bed. It's not a knock on Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold's had one hell of a year. I agree with Dave, man. I think the Rams, especially with this situation in LA, but with the veteran presence, with the talent, with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp and Higgins and a Super Bowl coach and a veteran coach and Sean McVay, a Super Bowl winning quarterback like Matt Stafford. This has Rams written all over it. So I have the Rams as well. So put this here. And just a shout out to guys, to first everyone who's watching. We appreciate you tuning in where you're watching from. You're watching the Checkdown here on FTSN on Friday night. Excuse me and forgive me if I'm a little mellow. Dealing with a headache, big bad headache. But shout out though to the crew guys. Again on FTSN, we got a lot of stuff going. It doesn't end after the season. We got basketball, we got baseball with Russ Morgan, who's killing it.
Is Jimmy getting traded or not?
We wait to see. I think he should. Okay. I think it's better for Miami if he does, just because of the distractions. I was okay waiting for the end of the year, Dave, before the situation happened. I knew it was going to eventually go down where he'll be moved or whatever, but I was okay with him going at the end of the year. And he was saying, "Oh, I'm cool. I just want to play basketball." And then he turns around and does this. But I don't have to tell you this. You're a Philly fan. So we'll get into it. Oh gosh. But he's talking about Jimmy with the Heat, guys. But yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on in network. I'll be back on tomorrow talking Dolphins on Fin's Talk today at 2 p.m. Eastern time. Wrestling tomorrow at in the evening, 8 p.m. Talking Raw on Netflix and
SmackDown.
Big SmackDown. A lot to talk about. Did the fans? And I'm not going to get into it here, but it's just a tease in case it actually goes down because of the reports. But the fans who booed Hogan are they going to bring back Hollywood Hulkster? There's a lot going on that direction. I mean, you just open up a can of worms, guys. But anyway, I'm not saying he wouldn't be a wrestler. We know that. But
he's your childhood favorite. That's why you want it. That's why.
Hey, I'm just saying it's not that. I mean, it is that, but it's not. I'm just saying. When I just say this. When I saw that he got booed so bad, first off, take the hint, guys. It's okay to show them in the crowd or maybe do a segment backstage very quick or whatever. They don't need that much airtime unless they're an on-screen character. They don't, between the Undertaker and Hogan and whatever, you've basically fed Hogan to the wolves, which is what it is. And he, it's obviously the off the field, out of the ring shit. But like I told Josh Kimmel, our friend and co-host with me on No Holds Barred, I said, when I saw the level of boos that he was getting at the deafening ways he was getting them, I was like, first off, I thought, if Hogan being Hogan, obviously he probably wanted to play it safe. I could have saw him turn on the crowd. And I was like, turn heel, just right there. Just do it. He didn't do it, obviously. But now WWE was so, whoa, wait a second. Do we have something here? Typical WWE. So just things to look out for. We might have an episode on that. Not tomorrow, but we will if it goes down.
Yeah.
Which is just interesting. We're still doing that this many years in. But anyway, just so much going on. NFL draft we're half of the draft has started, the journey to the draft. And I will say, dude, we got an awesome crew already. We're talking, probably going to meet up soon and discuss exactly what's going to happen. But on the clock, NFL draft talk is coming down the pipe. I've been scouting. I know the guys are starting to do that. Carson Beck, one of the guys that I scouted. I had a late second round grade on him. I have to erase that now because he's going to Miami. He's going to play for the Hurricanes. So the Miami Hurricanes 2 years in a row get the top rated quarterback on the transfer portal, and so he'll try to do the Cam Ward thing next year for Miami. But Russ, before we wrap it up, you said you had a question for me on the draft.
Yeah, would you, as a Dolphins guy, would you take one of these guys, a Cam Ward, a Shador, if you had that? Because I know your opinions on Tua. And then, would you be using do you like this class so much? Would you be using maybe a second round pick to get a younger guy to maybe replace Tua?
So, with the 13th pick, would I take a quarterback with the 13th pick? No.
Would you take one of these guys to replace Tua?
To replace Tua?
Okay,
so this year's a little crazy with quarterbacks.
Obviously, there's only two that they're saying that go in the first round.
Yeah, but I've seen a lot of them, and of course, as the offseason goes on, we'll watch a lot more film. We don't just watch a couple games. We keep watching them, and then we change as we go. For me, my current opinion on this QB class, oh God, is that DSG? I don't see the comments. Is that DSG? But let me just get into 13th pick. No, there's no quarterback. I think, even though, and again, because I think Cam Ward's going to take it early. Shadir Sanders at 13. I'm okay. I'm good with it. No, but third round, second round, third round, especially, I think you could get a decent developmental guy that you could develop in with
Jalen Milrow.
You just took the words out of my mouth.
Jackson Dart,
Jalen Milrow,
Kyle McCord, second round.
Kyle McCord, Curtis Work is another one out of Indiana, 6'5". Dude he has a big arm too. There's a lot of them, but Milrow is a guy from Alabama. I was a huge fan of oh my gosh, I'm forgetting his name. Milton. I'm sorry, Milton coming out. I really like Milton coming out. And I mean, obviously he's a raw prospect, but you saw some signs of what he could do, and I think that would have been doing well in Miami if with further development. But I think Milrow is a piece I would look at in the second, possibly third round if he's still there. This draft reminds me a lot of Russ with quarterbacks at this point. Because opinions change, but at this point, it reminds me of that draft where Malik Willis was taken in the third round. They're going in the first round when really they start falling down the pike. Mm-hmm. This is that type of draft. There's going to be decent quarterbacks, not starter material right away, but decent quarterbacks that you could take in the third round, fourth round, and that, let's say Tua goes down, you plug them in, you see what you got. If it doesn't work, the next year you got a killer QB class coming out possibly, with Arch Manning and company. So it's like you would see what you got with those guys, and then not you pair up your draft picks and you trade up and you go get your guy. There's a lot. There's Nico out of Tennessee. You got, Arch Manning got come. But this class, I'm not against drafting QB this class. Just not with the first pick. No.
I mean, it has to be the right situation. Is it what you're saying, Bobby?
Say what?
It has to be the right situation.
Yeah, that's 100% right. Yes.
I think Milrow, and I'm not comparing Milrow to a lot of what Jaden Daniels did this year. I think a lot of coaches will see Milrow's athleticism and think that they can make Milrow like Daniels. Now, he was a lot more experienced, but I think just by seeing what Jaden Daniels did this year, that they're going to view it like that. Now, Milrow's a lot bigger than Jaden Daniels. And doesn't
he is. He's a bigger guy, and I think he has a lot. I think he has a lot of upside. Not enough for me to take him in the 13th, not with the 13th.
No, 13th.
You know what I'm saying? But he's a very intriguing prospect. And first off, Demokes, man, thank you for tuning in. As a Raiders fan, he says, this is Demokes. As a Raiders fan, I know we need a QB, but these QBs look cheeks, and we probably better. You know what? Again, you do not want to waste. I don't want to say that, but it might happen either way. You don't want to. For me, if I'm running, I'm not drafting quarterback in round one this year.
I'm trying to get. Is this guy a
Cam Ward's my only one?
DSG label is a Dolphins fan.
Dolphins fan. All right.
But he wants Aaron Rodgers. And guys.
We'll take a first this year and a first next year.
God, no. dude.
Yeah.
We didn't get that from you. You ain't getting that. How dare you?
I don't want anything to do with Aaron
Inter
Rodgers. dude.
division.
And I will say, and Stager knows this, before this whole situation with New York, I was like, we need a guy like Aaron Rodgers. We need a veteran. We need an a-hole, blah, blah, blah. But what he did in New York and what he does is just too, no, keep him. Or get him to Tennessee. That's where I think he's going anyway. I don't want anything to do with Aaron Rodgers. No way.
You got two guys here who have been a part of the fan base.
Yes, thank you. You got the Jets and you got the Packers on here.
You had telling you don't want to deal with this.
Dude.
Don't do this.
I mean, my God, it's just stop it, Label. Label's awesome. Label's a good dude, man. I like Label.
Fine. That would actually save us about $35 million in dead cap money. So
well, you're stuck with it.
You're stuck with him. Deal with it. But anyway, guys, everyone, thank you all for tuning in. We appreciate you. Don't forget, we're here every Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern.
I didn't blame everything on Aaron.
Russ to blame everything on here. I blame everything on her. No, the Jets are a mess. The Jets. Wait a second. First of all, no. The Jets are a mess to be a mess.
Yes.
But stop pretending that Aaron is some clean goat over there. He's not. He had a lot to do with what the hell happened. You're damn right. He had a lot to do with what's wrong with New York. He has a lot to do with what's wrong with New York. Stop sleeping on it. Oh, if he comes to Miami, we're gonna win with Devontae Adams and Tyreek and.
Well, they said the same thing about the Jets. I mean, I went in last year, even before he tore his Achilles, and I'm like, even if he made it halfway through the year, like he probably would have got killed with our offensive line, but he definitely, like now you see the things with Garrett Wilson having issues with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. Thank you.
He's probably not the
Sauce Gardner too, and Sauce Gardner's on the defense. Gardner even said, I would not tell anybody to come to the Jets right now with the mess there and with Aaron. He's
probably not the easiest guy to get along with.
You also have
but it's not that you don't have to be the easiest guy to get along with. It's the extra stuff that it is. Just being oh, maybe I won't come back. Maybe I will. Oh, you have to talk. And what he does and getting people fired. Forget that guy, man.
You also have the video of him in the locker room, right?
No.
There's a video that popped up today about 5-6 hours ago. My buddy Eli Berkovitz posted.
Okay.
He's a huge Aaron Rodgers guy. I love Aaron Rodgers for what he did for Green Bay. But after that, it's just like he went off the deep end.
He went off the edge. I agree. Yep.
So, with that, though, he was in the locker room. I mean, bawling, hugging everyone, telling everyone it was his last game. I think he's retiring.
Good.
This was in locker room, shoulder pads off, wearing his white sleeveless moisture-wicking shirt, and I think
I agree. Label, I agree. I said that before Aaron Rodgers left Green Bay, I was saying, especially with Tua early on with Flores, I said we need an a-hole at quarterback. You need a guy who's not afraid to tell his players. But you saw what happened in New York, and you see what he's become. And this Dave Stager from Green Bay is telling you, as a Green Bay fan, you that he felt like Russ, who is a Jets fan, who saw it, who had high hopes. And before the season ended, he was like, God, we got to get rid of him. Towards the end, he's like, oh, maybe. There's a difference. There's a difference between
there's flashes and then like he hires.
Yeah, there's a difference between demanding respect and just being a total, distraction and whatever. And that's what he is. He's not that guy, dude. Yeah, and he's not the same quarterback. He, like Russ just said, he could have flashes, but he's not this guy to come in and turn everything around. Because guess what? He didn't do that with the Jets. He didn't do that.
Jets were predicted to, win the AFC East, and I mean,
find another quarterback to hype up.
It's all the interviews he does, all the I'm going to get back from the Achilles. I'm like, please just take your time. You're 40 years old. Take your time, come back properly. He goes, no.
The shortcut surgeries he was doing, that bothered me.
It's like, but all the interviews sometimes I'm like, all right, dude, we're three.
Welcome to my personal heart in the last 3 years in Green Bay.
Just like please, you can shut up right now. But
I'm not. Is enough to not be an upgrade over to it.
I'm not.
But his play is so down with Tua missing the games this year. Sorry, Russ, for interrupting. I just had to answer this. There's no much to outweigh Tua.
Exactly.
Even with the game he missed this year. Like this is where DSG. This is where I'm going to say it. Tua missed how many games? Y'all barely missed the playoffs, right? And you still, if you put Rodgers in, where he played a full season, and look what happened. And he had Garrett Wilson. He had Devontae Adams. He had his guy, Alan Lazard. He had 2 stud running backs. He didn't do anything.
That's exactly what I've been saying. Said the exact same thing.
I mean, with Rodgers' age, you saw the flashes like in that first Dolphins game last week, Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Where he can move around, but then there's the 8 games leading up to that where he's really hurt and he's playing. And,
but that's the thing. Label just saw that one game with the Dolphins apparently, and he's like, "Oh, Aaron still has it. Let's get him." He didn't see everything else or pay attention to everything
players were quitting on Miami. That was a Week 18 game. Yeah, that was a Week 18 game where players were quitting on Miami. You had Tyreek Hill, a leader of the locker room, quit. So how do you expect the rest of the team to follow suit?
We want to add in Aaron Rodgers to that.
No.
I mean, we're already.
And these aren't Dolphin fans. Label. This is a Jets fan and a Packers fan. So I hope it ends this. Or this.
Yeah, there's
constant flag planting of Aaron Rodgers.
That's just the ego TNT nightmare. Imagine Tyreek being brought back and put in the locker room with Aaron Rodgers for the ego.
But it wasn't just that. He was like, DSG on the pre-post game show. He was like, "Oh, and we could get Devontae Adams, and we could do this. And how much is Bobby paying you all?" No one, nothing. This is just them. Oh, dude, you're the one who brought up Aaron Rodgers. I wasn't gonna bring him up. You keep bringing him up.
Like I love Rodgers. I do.
At least Stager got the good of Aaron Rodgers. I got 2 years of 1 year of an injury, and the next year,
No, listen, we got him pre heavy Ayusaka. That's when you guys got him.
Yeah, he was long gone. He's in Northern California.
I'll give DSG Label credit, man. He got me a little fired. It's all good, brother. I appreciate you.
Now Bobby's headache is making his vein pop out.
Yeah, I'm just like my head's blown up, and DSG made me laugh. He's awesome, dude. He's been on the show in the audio part of it. He's a good dude. He's funny as hell. But yeah, I mean, he's been bugging me with this all for a past week.
Listen,
now.
I would love to have him on as a guest, but my God. If he says one Aaron Rodgers thing, I'm clicking the end. I'm hitting the end show.
Delete. It's like, oh man. All right, guys. I'm gonna bounce. We're gonna bounce. We appreciate y'all tuning in. Don't forget I'll be on live tomorrow at 2 p.m. We'll get the information out about our draft content shortly. Dolphin fans, if you're watching, I'm working on like a draft guide. I'll try to do every other week or something, just updating it and stuff.
It's guys that Greer won't draft.
That's right. Yeah, because it's so freaking true. It's
Brett would appreciate that more than anything.
It's so true though. But anyway, appreciate you guys. Everyone, thank you so much. Russ Morgan, catch him on Wednesdays at 7:30 with On Deck Baseball. Dave Steger here every week on the Checkdown and shortly on the Clock. I'm Bobby Finstock. You can catch me anywhere on FTSN. Until then, guys, like and subscribe and peace.